Hi guys, this is Jean Holden, producer of the show, and I just wanted to take a minute to let you know where you can find us on the internet. Please go to ThatMan on Fatman.com. There you can find out all the things you need to know about the show. You'll be able to find links to the podcast, to YouTube, to Twitter, Facebook, even Instagram and Snapchat. Thank you so much for listening, guys, and we hope you enjoy the show.
Today's show is brought to you by Death Wish Coffee. Death Wish Coffee, the strongest coffee in the world.
This is Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman, and I want to urge you to make a generous donation to the Wayne Foundation so we can stop the sexual trafficking of children. Do it, or I'll find you.
And don't forget to check out our good friend of the show, Mark Live, over at chundertunes.com for all your podcast animation needs. ThatMan on Fatman is recorded with a Zoom H6 handy recorder. Zoom for creators.
Disclaimer. The show you're about to experience is for entertainment purposes only. The hosts use mature language and conversation just like in most of life. If you're too uptight, this might not be for you. All that said, we really do hope you enjoy the show. But if you don't enjoy it, expect a nice big shipment of my joyous Joker juice on your doorstep in the very near future. Toodles!
Yes, please note that use of all sound effects is done ironically.
Ooh-ah. You are listening to ThatMan on Fatman with Scott and Jean Holden, and they, trust me, have a great ass.
The second Y is sent in by
ThatMan on Fatman.
Oh, right on. Scott Holden.
Scott Holden, yep.
And what does Scott want?
Call me Scott because I'm Holden.
As the world's biggest Kevin Smith fan, I appreciate the fact that somebody finally made a podcast about that interesting motherfucker. So, yes, you absolutely did the right thing.
Okay, what has two thumbs and is a huge fan of Kevin Smith? ThatMan!
Scott, who does ThatMan on Fatman podcast.
Yeah.
Ooh-ah.
Well, once upon a time, just a regular man read a book written by the Fat Man. Tough shit written by old Kev Smith.
Ooh-ah. ThatMan on Fatman.
Kev said go out and start a podcast, and so I did, and I had a real blast. But my obsession was driving my co-host nuts.
Who is he? He's that man. He's talking.
Didn't want to bring the podcast down. Needed Porkchop Murphy to hang around.
Go get him, that man.
So I created a show with one heck of a plan, and I call that show ThatMan on Fatman.
ThatMan on Fatman.
Go get him, that man.
We're gonna talk about Kevin Smith.
ThatMan on Fatman. ThatMan on Fatman.
Go get him, that man.
We're gonna talk about Kevin Smith.
Go get him, that man.
Hey, everybody. Happy New Year. And welcome to ThatMan on Fatman, Season 4, Episode 31, the 31st episode of our 4th season. With me here in the studio, and also the first show of the new year. Also, here in the studio with me is none other than our producer extraordinaire, co-host, Jean Holden.
Hi, guys. How are you?
We are here.
Yes.
In the new year.
Yes, this cold new
Yeah, the new year starts out very cold in the northeast, the Atlantic Northeast region.
It's the norm. I mean, people kind of go through their, oh my God, it's so cold.
But
I
this
think
is
it's
this is one of those.
It's colder than it's usually.
Yeah,
New Hampshire.
One of those climate change type events
right.
too.
A certain area of New Hampshire minus 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Right?
Chilly on the willy.
Oh my gosh, that's not fit for
Cool
anyone.
on the tool.
I know. And like, that's crazy cold. That's not even for those poor little babies right there.
Yes. Oh, I guess there wouldn't be any of those. That would be more like, I don't even know, I guess. Grace! I don't know why I played that. I just felt like it.
Anyway, welcome, guys.
Welcome to the new year. Welcome to the new episode, I guess.
Yeah.
And a little change from what we were originally going to do. Again, we're postponing. I think we just, at this point, we're just enjoying postponing JC from Scum and Villainy.
Yeah.
That way, at the very least, we can mention Scum and Villainy every week.
Yes.
That's Scum and Villainy bar in Los Angeles. Right there on Sunset Strip. If you're a geek, go hang out. We have a show in the can, but like things keep coming up and pushing it back. And again, I always say, maybe we'll just refresh the interview because the Skype connection wasn't all that great. Maybe we can refresh that interview and get something like
brand new.
Like
and,
this week, we're in the new year and
right.
new hustle and
right.
new shows popping up all over the place, like Ralph Garman.
Yes.
See, now, normally, at this point, we would go to our news segment, the SMeadlines. But this week, we're not going to do that because what we have, the big change, we sat down with our new news person, and thank God I record everything. And, original plan was we were going through what we're going to do and putting our shtick together. But in there, since I record everything, there was some really good content about her view of The Last Jedi. And since we had the Christmas show, the Last Jedi show, it kind of felt a lot like, hey, let's dump on Last Jedi.
Well, and you had wanted to.
I really did. I wanted someone.
After the fact, you were like, oh, I wish I knew like more that what her feelings were, because then we would have had that in the show.
And you know what? She's such a new part of the show, and she hasn't really been like,
right. So it's kind of like
so
an
like
add-on.
I didn't even think about it. Like, oh, we should invite her. Duh.
So this week it's kind of like an add-on to the last one.
Yeah. So this will
Plus
be
a get to know Dani.
Yes, another introduction to Miss Dani Rat. Her name is Danielle Ryan, but her
she's Dani Rat to us,
and she's Dani Rat on
the Twitterverse,
and probably on
Facebook, maybe
not Facebook, but what do you call it? The Instagram
as well. Yes, probably.
You have like a handle.
You're right.
So that's what we decided to put in the segment this week because we think it's a nice dovetail to all, and there's still a lot of Jedi talk, man. This fucking movie is like a weird Rorschach blot. People see like whatever they want in it, and it to me,
right.
What I see, my problem with it is the overriding theme. The more I think about it, is ambivalence. There's so much ambivalence to me, that is a director who's afraid to take a real stand until the last 5 minutes of the film, which contradicts the first 2 hours and 15 minutes or whatever it was. But all right, so spoilers.
I don't want to say too much because it'll spoil it. But yes,
it's been a few weeks now. If you've listened to our Star Wars episode a few weeks back, then for the holiday, there's no reason you can't listen to this one. It's just a continuation. It's just
a different, view, a different.
Yeah, it's me. It's really me trying to really get to the root of someone who liked it, why they did, and sort of say, but what about this? Doesn't this mess it up? Like, it's really me comparing why did you like this thing most of the time?
She had some very, very.
Again, like I said,
valid. From
I want to know why people like it.
Yeah,
because my reaction was so different.
Right.
I mean, it's Star Wars. Okay, if they have one misfire,
I think we go into.
I mean, I still watch the fucking prequels just for shits and giggles. So.
Just like Star Wars, like things we like, we go into it all with a personal touch.
I know.
So it's hard to really go into someone else's, place
But
where that touches them.
I think ultimately she saw that I wasn't. I'm not coming from a mean let's bash Star Wars place. I'm coming from
you guys love it.
I love Star Wars.
Yeah.
That's why I want.
Right.
I want it to be right. You know, I don't want it, or I want. You know, I don't want it to be fucked up. And and ultimately, because here's what happens: if you make a bad movie, besides like Star Wars could essentially like become, you're a star. But that's it. You become the butt of a joke. Oh, you like
Star Wars geek.
Okay, Jar Jar. You know, that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Basically, the way Kevin made fun of Lord of the Rings people
I
in
know.
Clerks
Because
2.
Yes. All they do is walk all the time and they have hairy feet.
Yes. Which, let's talk about Jay and Silent Bob.
I know.
Let's strike back. Let's talk about what will probably be Jay and Silent Bob
I know.
Strikes Back rebooted.
I know.
Oh, here's a little news.
What's up?
Kevin, down in Florida,
filming.
Kilroy was here with the Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Clown College. Ha ha ha! I'm just busting. But seriously, that they do have that area of Florida does have connections to the Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus. The Ringling in the film school name is that guy. So, and it is sort of was
the brothers.
There was a point where he was the richest guy in Florida. yeah, seriously, and like he kind of brothers.
No, I'm thinking of brothers from Rick and Morty.
Oh yeah,
brothers.
Two brothers. It's called Two Brothers. Two brothers.
It's just called Two Brothers.
That reminds me. I've had such a good time over the holiday week between Christmas and New Year's, essentially going through all of Rick and Morty season 1 and 2, this time listening to all the commentary from the creators, and that was awesome. So I just enjoyed that. So I'm really Rick and Morty'd up and out. You never took a picture of that.
I know, I didn't. I was just thinking that too.
Yeah, we said it, I guess, in the last episode. We mentioned it. I got to take a sip here because I'm getting dry.
Yeah. We've been really, we've been binging like over and over Rick and Morty.
Yeah, especially.
I don't get sick of it. It's so like there's so many,
and that's why the commentary is like, oh, cool, a new way to do this. And again, speaking of commentary, more Kevin Smith news for fans.
Oh yeah,
Kevin and Mark for Fatman on Batman fans. This show's namesake. Went back to their roots, and they are beginning to redo. They're doing another commentary. They did another commentary track. They did Batman Begins, so they're starting the Nolan-verse after, a lot of poking and prodding. They get to things, folks. It just sometimes it takes a while.
Yeah.
So I'm still waiting. They're supposed to do a crossover commentary track with Edumacation Andy for not Flash Gordon for Dune. Just because we're all such crazy Dune fans.
They've been talking about that for a while.
Yeah. So
that's a real commitment, that one. Because Dune is long. Isn't
Batman,
Dune long?
And here's another cool thing about they did Batman Begins.
Right.
They did not cut it into 2 episodes.
Ah.
Previously, at least 6 of them are cut into, not 6, at least 3 of the previous Batman movies.
Right.
2 was not. The second one, Batman Returns, was not. But Batman, the original Tim Burton Batman, like when they did the commentary track for that, it's split across 2 episodes, partially because the first part of that episode, Kevin responds to the fact that Ben Affleck had just been made Batman.
Right.
It's amazing. I know this shit, like just off the top of my head. And then the rest of, but partially because I found it frustrating that you cut a commentary in half. Like, oh, you stop a comment. I'm like, no, I'm actually syncing this shit up, you jerks. No, you know what you did to me.
I know.
So they split that one. So that's the first one.
Right.
The second one, maybe even after my bitching, maybe he saw my tweet and was like, all right. They did the second one end-to-end commentary. It's clean.
Yeah.
But then they divided forever, and they divided, oh my God, the Batman and Robin.
Right.
The
yeah, but isn't Dune way longer than Batman?
Dune's like 2 hours, 15 minutes
really?
tops.
I just remember
and Batman yesterday, 2:20.
Okay.
Batman Begins is 220.
I guess it is short. I mean, I just thought of it more as like a mini-series.
Here's the
type
thing.
of thing.
In the past, like when we're thinking back to, it was far more common for movies to be 90 minutes, and if you're pushing it, 120.
Right.
Because that was just, 90 minutes is your movie because, 3 acts, a half hour each act. Think about it that way.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, beginning, middle, and end. And so everything else is just sort of an extension of that. You're expanding the 90-minute format.
Right.
So but now we're just getting used to the 3-hour epic.
Well, and it's the type thing like you're giving me more. Okay.
Yeah, and we're just getting used to the 3-hour epic in the theater.
Yeah, 3 hours is pushing
but
it for
now,
me. For me personally, that's pushing it.
Agreed. In the theater, it is pushing it. But here's what I'm saying: when they put together the director's cut, that's maybe 3.5 hours. Like, all right, let's talk. Let's pull the mask off what we're talking about.
Right.
I'm talking Lord of the Rings here. People bitched about The Hobbit. Oh my God, you're taking one single book and you're making it into fucking 9 hours.
How long was?
But here's what I'm gonna say. So what?
It was an amazing
story. In an era
it.
where you will binge 13 episodes of something, why not set up all 6 of the Hobbit, The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings film, and set them up and knock them down? It's just like a binge.
Especially if you're a fan of it, wouldn't you want that?
Exactly.
If you're not a fan of it, you're going to bitch about whatever it is.
And
anyway.
he did pad the Hobbit heavily to make three
if people love
movies out of it.
If people love Peter Jackson and love the Hobbit, of course they're going to want more.
And he was very self-indulgent, and he took a lot of liberties.
Yeah,
but
he didn't do it in a bad. He didn't do it in a
Why not make
distasteful-
it 3 films?
Yeah.
It was bigger than just The Hobbit, but you're not as diehard a fan,
I'm
so
not
we got other ground to cover
Right.
here. Especially, so
I enjoyed it.
All right, so in Kevin news alone, so far we've talked about he's dropped a new commentary track for Batman Begins with Mark Bernardin. Mm-hmm. He's filming down in Florida. He's doing Kilroy Was Here, which he trademarked. He fucking got to trademark Kilroy Was Here.
Did he really?
Isn't that brilliant?
Yeah, I thought someone already would have done
he's
that.
kind of like Gene Simmons. No, that was it. That's the beautiful thing.
It's nice. I would have thought someone would have already.
Yeah. So
well, he also there's a new SModcast with Dan Fogler.
Yeah. Well, let's circle back to that.
Okay. You don't want to go there yet.
Oh,
Okay.
well, we actually, let's get. Okay,
we were just going down the list.
Yeah, on
SModcast
SModcast recently, there was a great episode that dropped with a guy named Dan Fogler, and they do a crossover.
Yeah.
Which Kevin's done sometimes with other podcasters. He's done it with. Let's see. There was a woman he did it with not too long. Actually, no, it's been a while since he's done one. And I can't remember who the heck that was. But he does them now and then. He did them with Jericho, the wrestler.
Oh, that's right.
And he also did one with, fucking, what's his name? The guy who's the podcaster extraordinaire who essentially built the format. Or at least if he didn't build it, he helped to normalize it. Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan,
yeah. He did a big crossover with him. Where it's like, if you put those together, see, there you go. People complain. You get 6 hours of content like in those 2 episodes.
Yeah.
So he did a crossover with the gentleman Dan Fogler. And so, if you're like me, at first the name doesn't ring a bell. And then they start talking about fanboys. And I'm like, oh, he's the guy the guy who drove the van, the funny guy in Fanboys.
Yeah.
Fanboys, anyone who's seen it, it has hits, it's hit and miss. I like it overall. I love what it was about, but he is a shining light in that film. So you get to find out about him. And then, lo and behold, what I didn't realize, props to his acting. He's the Muggle in the latest Fantastic Beasts films. He's the Muggle partner, the guy who wants to make a bakery. And the first time I saw that film, I didn't see it in the theater. I saw it, but he jumped out instantly. From the first couple of line reads or things that he says in response, he's like, "Hey, fella," but he's got just this perfect delivery.
Now, did you
like,
know
he
it
does
was him?
not feel like a no.
Okay, so
I
that's
never
when you made
put
the
those
connection.
two guys together until that moment. I'm like, oh my God,
the
no
same
wonder
guy.
I liked him.
Yeah, he's really likable.
And so I have to recommend checking out both the Kevin side, which is on SModcast.
Yeah, and if you don't,
and they carry over their conversation into this other guy's. And what his podcast is, they get really stoned and see movies, apparently.
and if you don't really know him that well, just listen because he's got like really cool energy and he's really into Kevin.
Yeah.
He's really excited.
You could tell he's a fella. He's
really
a fan
fun.
before he was.
He appreciates life. He's really appreciative of his
And apparently,
fame.
Kevin really digs
Really
him too.
cool.
They both have a background in. They both. Let's face it, Kevin likes show tunes and shows and
He
that kind of
does.
stuff.
Well,
And-
because he's a performer. He's a stage actor. He did it in school.
And
That's where he started.
this gentleman had a background in like one of these off Broadway plays that came and became, Tony nominated and all that
Right.
stuff. So about a spelling bee, and I can't remember. It's got a really long
Okay.
title. It's like something spelling bee. It's not a musical. It was a comedy,
Right.
And it even had audience participation at some
Oh.
points where they would bring people up from the crowd
Yeah.
to participate in the spelling bee.
Oh my God.
And that's what it was. They were all characters in like a 7th grade or whatever. They were all
Right.
like 10 or 11 years old. They were all
Right.
playing characters in this spelling bee.
Okay.
So I never saw the play, but they talk about that's how he kind of like made his bones.
That is so
It's so
cool.
funny too because
Yeah.
a lot of comedians, and it wasn't until we started doing all this, especially now that we're in the city and when we're in the Keith and the girl circles particularly, everybody talks about UCB. Now, from my background in IT management in the pharmaceutical world, UCB is a pharmaceutical company. So every time I
Right.
hear it, that's all I think, UCB.
Right.
Until I realize, it's Upright Citizens Brigade.
Right.
Which is a sort of...
It's a comedy troupe.
Well, it is a comedy troupe, but it's also a comedy system, much
Right.
like, an improv group and an improv
Right.
school, and there's different levels. And apparently, I didn't know all this, but and he talks about it too. And he talks about he was like at the 3rd level, and he made it into the 4th level. And he said he ran into the same problem there that he ran into in stand up, and that's that it's just so intense, and everybody like. They want to throw you under the bus as much as they want to help you.
I know, right?
And
Well, because they don't want you to be better than them.
it becomes too competitive.
I know.
So, and I get that, just from hanging around with enough people,
Right.
and
I know.
like we know some improv people, especially who are in the
because that's like your bread and butter. That's your thing.
Well, you usually find there's improv people and there's stand-up people. Stand-up people tend to not like the improv people.
Yeah.
Or at least don't like improv as much.
Yeah,
But there are good skills you can glean from both.
there really are.
Yeah. And if you
It's
can figure out how to
impressive,
put them
man.
together.
It's like I give them all the credit in the world getting up there. And I mean, I being one of those people, like I find that I'm almost become someone.
Well, you
that
could
can do
join
that.
Upright Citizens Brigade and
No,
pay
and-
them to eventually hate yourself.
doing something because I was never able to do this like what we're doing right now. This is crazy because this is not who I am.
Well, it's very interesting.
As I
because
grew up,
I see podcasting as
Yeah.
essentially an improvisational dialogue.
right.
It's
It's almost like if you want to call it, if you're moving towards a goal, like this is like a stepping stone towards even something more.
Yeah.
I mean, because
Especially when you're interacting
right, public
in a conversation with somebody.
Yeah, public speaking.
Yeah, it's a little bit of public speaking. It's
yeah.
a little improvisation.
Yeah.
It's
I didn't
what-
realize
content generation.
That was such a huge fear of mine growing up, just because I had the stutter, and
Which
know,
is
so
hilarious
people-
because you have a great voice. I
Well,
know.
thank you.
I know you could do voiceover if you could just get up.
off my
What is it? Work it, bitch, or whatever it is.
shake that ass.
No, what's that other one? What's the one from Britney?
Oh yes, you better work, bitch.
Better work, bitch.
Well, yeah, it's work, bitch.
You work,
I
bitch.
love
You
that Britney.
get your.
Did
you
y'all
get
see
your-
Britney on? Did y'all see Britney on? New
Because
Year's
what's
Eve?
his name said it probably. What's his name? Give you some advice.
He did. Phil Hendry sent me a little message. Yeah,
but,
he did.
but it all comes back to you gotta
I just have to get my reel together.
exactly, and that's where you always kind of fall
audio
down.
Reel. I do.
And
Yes,
because you're
so-
like, you do it. I'm like, no, you got to tell me what cuts. So I'll do it in that you have to tell me what
Yeah.
to pull.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I know it's the one commercial that we both like.
I don't know how we started talking about this, but it's
we're way
definitely
off
like
topic. So we just talked about that was another podcast we were talking about that just dropped.
All right, we were talking about SModcast, the new one that just came out.
Yeah, so the two-parter.
Yeah, he's from Fanboys and
so
a whole bunch of stuff.
Check that out. It's just worth listening to. A lot of fun. I really like that guy too. I was so pleased to find out that the guy from Fanboys, who I really liked,
Dan Fogler,
is gone on to land such a great role in that Fantastic Beast, and in that movie plays such a great character because he's just the Muggle who's sort of there. He's comic relief, but he's also heart and soul.
Right.
There's something about the whole journey that character goes on that's interesting, and I can't wait till they unmodify his memory in the next one. Okay, so the next thing is so funny because on the last show we talked about Ralph Garman, and I said maybe some this was during the greatest hits, the top 10 of 2017, because we pulled a Ralph clip for number 2, Ralph Garman,
right?
And the next day, as we sort of like hinted that we heard that something's coming. I think it was pretty much the next day Ralph announced that he's doing a subscription show via Patreon, and it's called The Ralph Report.
I always want to call it The Ralph Report.
Yeah,
like
The Ralph Report.
Like the Colbert Report.
Yeah, The Ralph Report. And maybe we'll start saying that.
I know.
And
Ralph Report.
So he put that out there, and I was very excited. I was like, oh, cool. So instantly we were plugging and jumping in and promoting, and we subscribed, obviously. And when we looked through the subscription, let me take a sip.
Oh my gosh.
I'll get past them.
And you guys, seriously, go and do it too.
Yeah. So this is even more genius. Apparently, he talked to Kevin, and Kevin's like, dude, you have this. You have something now that you never had before. When you went into the radio world, and that's a crowd that loves you, an audience that loves you, that enjoys hearing you.
And
like in our case, like we really liked listening to Ralph when we were in California and stuff, but usually we don't. Like I never downloaded Kevin and Bean's podcast and listened every day.
And he's the best part of that whole Kevin and Bean show.
Yeah, so but obviously I'm a loyal Babylon fan, and I know I get his bona fides in the radio world and voices and all that shit. So now I'm excited that we are going to get to hear Ralph regularly because he's going to do the Showbiz Beat stuff. That's what he was talking about on the air and all the bits he was going to do. And then in a tweet, now here's where things get weird. And this is one of those stories. Turns out okay in the end, but it stresses. I want to stress the importance of putting those LOLs, even if you think they're stupid or contrary or not contrary or just, this makes no sense. Hang on, take a sip.
Yeah. Or thinking like, gee, should I send this or not?
Isn't this LOL dorky? Isn't that,
Yeah. It's
kind of a buyback. But really nowadays, what it does indicate is you are attempting to be funny.
Right. And you're acknowledging that what you're saying is supposed to be a joke.
Yes, it's or other than
if you laugh or not.
It's better than a JK. At least
JK.
in LA works. And LOL works. I mean,
JK is used.
You can go over the top with Rolf, rolling on the floor laughing.
JK is used.
Laugh so hard I farted. But even a simple LOL will work. But okay, so I put out a tweet, and it really was. I was busting balls because if we call back to the show on which Ralph was on, of which I'm going to insert here, so I'm going to make a mark. When we were on, Ralph talked about, or I busted his balls about The Bachelor. It was just in passing. It was a quick joke, and he got it that I was just goofing on him.
Of course.
And I'm going to make a cut here. Give us some geek picks. What should we keep our eyes on?
Geek picks?
Yeah. What are you going to be looking at? What are you looking at? I know besides The Bachelor and your strange taste in shows.
Yes, that was a byproduct of my wife watching it and me getting hooked. But I'll tell you something, it is compelling. You can't help but turn away once you get hooked.
I
on that
get
shit.
it because I was trapped in the house one weekend and I got sucked into Ice Road Truckers,
And
so
also,
I get how it happened. So there you hear, it's just busted chops on Mr. Garman about that show.
Mm-hmm.
So I put the tweet in a tweet that was like, ew. About, like, he was like, oh, I'm going to do that segment. I'm going to do Cover The Bachelor or something. I guess he did somewhat regularly on
Right. Well, it came
his
up
show.
and someone had mentioned it. Yeah.
And I was like, my response, which was joking, was calling back to that moment. I was like,
Right.
ew, what did I get myself into?
Yeah.
WTF, Ralph?
Right.
Now, an LOL, a smiley face, any of that thing would have saved a problem.
Right.
I ended up, I sent that tweet and then I got sucked into the Fractured Butthole, South Park game, the Fractured
Video
Butthole.
game.
Yeah. And so didn't really get back on social media and then ended up going to bed and then waking up late, middle of the night kind of thing and seeing a message in the private message bin of Twitter. And it's Ralph. And I'm like, uh-oh. And I open it up. He's like,
Ruh-roh.
he's like, you don't have to listen, but you don't, but
I know.
don't listen, but don't say anything mean or something to that effect.
Yeah.
And I was
to
like,
us, like, to a fan it hurts, and to us, like, it hurts just because, like, we're always
trying
like,
to not
team.
do that, essentially. Yeah,
like,
we're
the
trying.
support
Yeah,
team.
we're trying.
The fan.
We're trying to help. We're trying to promote. We're trying.
Yeah.
So
we're the promoters. We're not like the people that want to.
So
make things
instantly,
bad.
I'm like, oh fuck.
Yeah, because our intentions are never to do that.
Yeah.
ever.
So I wrote a long response, which was,
Right.
oh my god, I never. This was meant.
Yeah.
At one point, I'm like, it was not meant as a hard diss. This was meant tongue in cheek. And what I was doing was calling back to a moment when you were on our show. I'm like, and later on, I'm like, it all got worked out. He was very
and
cool.
he explained he just wanted positive vibes
Exactly.
around it,
He's
which
like,
we totally get. And that's
like,
all we want for him, too.
That's
all we want is
and I'm like,
positive.
thank you for not unfollowing us. Thank you for not, casting us. You're blocked.
Right. And it's nice that he's done some extras too, like extra
shows
before
that was the thing.
actual.
What I didn't realize is like then when I looked in the feed, boom, there was the show that popped up with the episode about.
Oh yeah.
So then I went and listened and later said to him, I'm like, dude, you're right. I just didn't get it.
I enjoyed
it's
it.
It's a funny bit. Yeah. And
well,
I also liked his Justice League.
Right. Well,
summation.
And really,
I'm anxious to hear his Star Wars summation. I have a feeling it's going to be like ours.
You think so?
Yeah,
now, is he
because he was on board with Justice League? It sounds like.
Now, is he as into Star Wars though? Is he a Star Wars fan as much as?
I think so.
I guess.
I think as much as the rest of us. Yeah.
I mean, he's just a geek,
geeky
dude.
Yeah, you can't. It's hard not to be.
Yeah.
He's a little older than us. And some of the people a little older than us didn't connect quite the same way.
Right.
But for the most part, yeah. I think he's a Star Wars guy.
Well, we wish Ralph all the best
guy.
and success with his show. And go to the RalphReport.com and check out his show.
Yes, and sign up for...
And there's all different levels. You can be a general. You can be like a 5-star general.
Even like the most basic thing to get his show 5 days a week is only $3. So
to start, and then it goes up from there.
Like we're 2-star. We're doing $5 because there's some extra video content and shit. I want to pick that up. No, there's no sorry. Everything's general. It's general. It's 1 to 4 stars. I believe.
I was only teasing. All
right.
But like, we all love Ralph, so check it out. Yeah.
All right. I think it's a good time we can bring on Miss Dani Rat as Miss Danielle Ryan. Miss Dani Rat as promised. This is our new SMeadlines person. And this is...
I think she likes Gal.
As I was saying earlier, this will be a callback to the discussion 2 episodes ago, or our Christmas special, Star Wars special with Michael Joseph Cotsabagno.
Yes.
And Cameron.
Cameron Holden.
So this is sort of more of that, but the difference being Dani was one of the first persons to come out that I knew that was like, I loved it. So we kind of try and get that perspective. Although,
We try and get
well,
it.
it's hard for me not to like jump in and be like, well, what about this? Because
Yeah.
I have so many like.
Right. I totally get her side though. I get it.
Again, it's
I need
so
to see it
funny when
again.
it just
Totally.
seems such a raw shot blot, and I talk about that
Yeah.
during this
Right.
segment.
I know for me, I need to see it again because I can't like.
Yeah, I need to see it again too.
Right.
But
I enjoy.
I don't feel like I'm one of those persons who's like like Michael said, I really liked it, but as I got away, I got gas from the meal.
Right.
Like I was getting gas in the theater.
Right. I liked the characters. I just felt like the development. I didn't understand a lot, but that could
Yeah.
be me going into the movie. Maybe I needed to do more as.
I think
as
when I see the movie, it will more solidify what I already
Yeah.
feel than it will like clean slate it.
Right.
But anyway,
I mean, because sometimes as a moviegoer, you have to do some research and know something.
no, you
behind.
shouldn't. No, you shouldn't. That's a
No?
fundamental beef.
You don't think so?
No, you shouldn't have to read a Star Wars third-party book they put out to sell to find out the backstory of a character you're going to meet in this travesty
'Cause-
that they treat like they've always known her.
I would have totally loved to have known more about it, but
Well, open a book.
that's
Spend
it.
more money.
More books.
Anyway, so here we are. This is Dani Ryan. This is our new SMeadlines person. And this is just a special addendum and a nice way of reintroducing her to y'all. So here we go.
And now, here's our guest.
And you know what? I really would have loved to have you on the Christmas show, finding out that you loved the
The Star Wars.
The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
I did, yeah.
Because we didn't have anyone that really represented that angle.
Who
So
absolutely
we
loved
kind of
it.
did fall into a bitch fest, and none of us set out to do that, but it just sort of happened because
It happens.
I didn't love it. I didn't love it. There's a lot of things. I had a lot of problems with it. I had a lot of problems with it real time. Not even like, I had to digest it to find problems. I was having the problems like my kids were watching me react and thought it was funny. So
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
why did you love it? I got to know.
Oh god, a whole bunch of different reasons. The biggest one being that it's the first time that I've connected with Star Wars the same way I did when I was a kid. Like the same sort of the magic of not only feeling represented in Star Wars, but also just like getting wrapped up in the fantasy adventure, all of it. Like it sucked me in the way that it did the very first time I watched A New Hope.
You didn't feel that way with the last one?
No, I didn't. I felt
Really?
I felt like it was so sterile and J.J. Abrams
Ooh.
that like the whole time I was just sitting there kind of like, I was like, okay, this is good. This is Star Wars, but this does feel kind of like Abrams' Star Trek reboot. Like it felt very samey. And so for that reason, like I liked The Force Awakens, but I didn't love it. And I liked Rogue One, but I didn't love it. And then with this one, I was like, okay, wait, this is Star Wars. But also, I love Rian Johnson. I love all of the themes. I love all the stuff that he was trying to get across. I love the fact that several of the characters are women and women of color, and all that is just, oh my god, it's so great. Like, all of that is wonderful. And the fact that...
I'm all for inclusion, but have a fucking story. You know what I
Here's-
mean? Like I've got
well,
no
and
problem I will say this: everything that I would pick on have nothing to do with inclusion or because I just don't even see it that way. I never really have, and the fact that there are more people represented in the universe is I think always a great thing.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
That's a given.
But
And
have
I
a fucking story, you know what
and
I mean?
I understand why
don't
people
have
are
these
frustrated.
like massive. To me, the massive gap lies on you set up this bad guy, who essentially now comes from nowhere.
Yeah.
Sort of is the catalyst for killing Han Solo, and we don't even know why.
Yeah, and here's the thing, is I've seen, that is a major complaint, and that's actually something Britton and I talked about at length, because he's with you. He's like, the story's bad, Snoke is lame, this is not...
To me, so much of it hinged on Snoke. And like, and with him being such just like, and I, you know, in the moment, yes, I liked the kill scene. I thought it was cool. I would have loved to have done that too. It was like, you know, whenever every one of us has been in that position, you know, where we're being yelled at by an asshole. And if we had a lightsaber next to us and could just fucking cut the guy in half. Yes, that was awesome. But again, now we don't, in so doing, it's like, oh, disposable boss? Like what?
Well, to me, it always, okay, so for me, it felt like what he was trying to do, what Rian Johnson was trying to do with this was more of a protest film and taking it back to like the fact that A New Hope was actually a Vietnam protest film. And so this is very much a Trump protest film, and the fact that the big bad guy, the main villain, is...
See, I think I disagree that it's a Vietnam protest film. I know that, yes, obviously, the guy wrote it during... If anything, though, it was an escape from a Vietnam protest film.
It's a Vietnam... No, it's a Vietnam protest. He said in interviews that it's a Vietnam protest film, that he wrote it
He took out so many of those elements, though.
Oh, he did.
Like,
but
if you've seen the behind-the-scenes footage of, like, the friends and everything...
Yeah, but I feel like...
it's just a basic myth is what it is.
Oh, it is. It's the Joseph Campbell hero's journey myth. But again, I feel like Rian Johnson took that in another direction with this. I mean, like, Luke's story in particular follows the hero's journey and then goes into, I mean, the religious and metaphysical aspects of it. It's so great because...
Here's another problem I have with Rian Johnson, both as a filmmaker and what he did. I don't think he did take a stand. I think he was actually a pussy. I think he was totally... he was totally ambivalent, and here's why. Okay, the Leia scene, first, he kills his father. Now he's going to kill his mother, but he stops. But then the guys next to him just blow her out of the sky anyway. Now, this woman is an actress who really died in real life, and this could actually make this whole thing so heavy and poignant to the story. Because let's face it, when we see Leia later, it is a non-payoff, just Luke and Leia moment. Because for the rest of the story, she's effectively, like, taken out anyway.
Well, they had already wrapped after she died. I mean, they wrapped before she died, and they were in editing when she passed.
Here's what I'm saying. Well, hang on, I'm not even done yet. So then those guys shoot her, and she's killed, but she's not killed because... Now we learn of some strange force power that we've never saw before from a person who's never exhibited it before, other than then who fantasy spacewalks herself to Supreme, and it's just so
because Yoda tells Luke in Empire that there is another with the same force powers, and it's Leia because she's Luke's twin. Like that's been canon since forever.
Yes, that I know. And I'm fine with that. And I'm fine. I've always been fine with the Force is just a power of the universe. The Jedis are just like monks who spend all day on it. You know what I mean? That's why they have more mojo than the average person who's just Force sensitive or whatever. You know, to me, it's much like Buddhism. You know, it's and that Jedis don't have any. The only reason they have any special power is because they fucking meditate all fucking day on the Force. But anyway, so we have this, what we have is super ambivalence. More super ambivalence. He doesn't kill her, but she dies, but she doesn't die because she's magically saved. What a bunch of horse shit. It's like not committing to anything. It was the most like, this is a director who's a pussy. Who's afraid to take a stand on anything and just is loaded.
He's one of my favorite directors.
Loaded
you're
with
really
ambivalence.
Pushing too hard.
You're pushing hard.
I didn't really. Okay, we're not going to because I really didn't like fucking Looper all that much either. I think it was grandiose. And apparently this guy has spent a lot of time in fucking Christian school.
Looper is his weakest film by far.
Okay, that's the only other thing I saw.
Yeah,
and why they gave this guy a Star Wars franchise is beyond me. Because it also felt at times like he was just pulling from greatest hits. Like, I'll throw Yoda in here. And why Iron Man 3 the end? Why can't Luke be there? There was no reason for Luke not to physically be on that planet and kick ass.
Because it was more important that he didn't, because that's what his journey was about.
Okay, according to the guy who wrote that last script. You know, I could have wrote it different. You know what I mean? Because he wrote and directed that piece of shit.
I loved it. And
the more I go over it, the less I like it. But I got to see it again.
Yeah, we have to see it again. I want to see it again. I
absolutely loved it. I thought that he tapped into a lot of really, really good, deep, intelligent stuff, and that
this movie is a raw shot blot. That's one thing I've seen, because I totally don't get it. Like, it's a total raw shot blot. People see fucking things in that movie that I heard a guy saying that this was a message from the baby boomers and the Generation Xers. Now, first of all, I'm a Generation Xer, but I identify far more with fucking with millennials.
Right. So it was a message from them or
from
to
us to millennials saying, you guys don't know what you're doing. Stick with the old ways.
No,
this was a guy on, you know, like a news story.
No.
Then I've also seen people say the other thing, that like this is you know, like this kind of like it's a snap on, you know, getting ahead of yourself and all this shit, and that felt like a forced moral, to tell you the truth.
I think that unless the movie speaks to you personally, like you're just not going to appreciate it in that way. And the thing with this movie is that I've talked to so many different people about it afterwards, and I think the reactions are so divisive because it is such a personal film.
Yeah.
And it's something that it's not operating on a basic narrative. It's not operating on this is the plot structure.
No, it is not.
No,
it's operating more on emotions and feelings and concepts and themes, and it's more about what you bring to the table as much as it is what you take away from it.
And I get that too, but they're so... but again, to me, the overriding theme, because of that, is ambivalence, because it never seems to pick a theme. Here's another example, and don't get me wrong, like, okay, so Luke, it is the problem of the too fast turn. Luke, the whole movie sets up why the Jedi are wrong. And, you know, the three main areas that the Jedi have fucked up, and, you know, and why they are. And I'm totally down. I get it. You know, spiritual movements can fuck themselves. I get it. And they can also correct, and they can also... But, like, he spends so much time being... angsty and, you know, and tortured, and then he does this quick turn at the end where he's like, the whole time he's like, the Jedi have to end. No more fucking Jedi. But then at the end he's like, fucking Jedi rule, bitches! Yeah! Woo! So I just don't get that fast turn. Like, why were we going over this? Why did we grovel the first half of this movie, or the first 2/3 of the movie? You know what I'm saying? The shit like that is very, just seems too like we don't know how to write. I don't know how to write a movie. I'm going to write a quick turn. It's much like the Yes Master of Episode 3. You know?
No.
Yes, it is. It is very much the Yes Master of it. Oh, no. Yes, now I will slay the younglings. And the other thing is, what the fuck? Come on. The only way I buy Mark Hamill pulling the sword on his kid is he has a fucking liquor bottle in his other hand. That makes sense. He's fucking drunk. He's like, he's a fucking Jedi. He's Sith. I'm gonna, you know. Then that whole thing makes sense.
Yeah.
You put a bottle of whiskey in his hand. I get it.
I like it as is, and
so ambivalent. It's totally ambivalent. More ambivalence. Why did he pull the sword? Huh? What's going on? Snoke already turned him. He didn't turn him. What's going on? Why are they fighting?
Yeah, he didn't.
It's about fear. It's about fear of the unknown. It's about fear of your own failure. And he was afraid that he was going to fail Ben.
It's about...
And then he did, because, I mean, it's about it's
about pulling a gun on your kid at night. That's what it's about.
No.
That is the modern moral equivalent. It's
I mean, if you're worried
up.
that your kid is going to shoot up the school, I mean, if you thought, hey, my kid might go shoot up the school and I don't know what to do about it because I can't go.
Right.
I think my kid may become Donald Trump. I don't know what to do.
Then you might have to kill it. Yeah.
You might have to kill it. Yeah, exactly. What if you gave birth to Hitler? What would you do?
Yeah, I think I might kill
Isn't
it.
that a weird question nowadays?
I don't know if I could love it.
It gets very scary, actually.
I know
you
it's
start
my
thinking,
kid, but I don't know if I could love it.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, I read the article that the woman, there's this woman that she wrote an article about how her son, he's in a mental care facility for the rest of his life, and it was called I Am, the kid that shot up the elementary school. She's like, I am his mother. She's like, I basically watched my son go down this road, and he's in a mental institution for the rest of his life because I don't believe I can stop him from doing any of this.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, so I think that's what
happened?
I felt like it was in this. Like, it was more like he was trying to protect people from the inevitable evil that he saw, but then he realized in that moment of fear, oh shit, no, this isn't right. But that moment was all it took.
Yeah.
Too much. Put a bottle of whiskey in his hand in that scene. I might believe that,
Mark Hamill.
But I just don't believe that if you were a Jedi master who is centered, that you would fucking pull your saber out in the middle of the night to cut your kid's head off.
But this is about how we're all human and we're all fallible.
Yeah, I get that too.
that
I get that too.
yes.
But still, on all layers, all that scene did to me was show ambivalence. There was more ambivalence. It was more like, you know what? Ultimately, I don't know what the fuck happened. I really don't. I did it all, and as a parent, it all seemed very icky to me. I wonder if Ryan Reynolds has kids.
Ryan Reynolds? Who's Ryan?
Ryan Johnson.
Ryan Johnson. Sorry.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, that you can tell. You can definitely tell.
Why?
There is a perspective from people who have children and people who don't. Certain things, and that is an area. If you've never had when you have a kid, something happens and you biologically you change. Douchebags become not douchebags. They become
not true.
A lot do, and many can. There is something.
It may soften you sometimes. Not everyone.
There is now someone in existence that you would willingly lay your life down for.
It depends. Some people don't really take
question.
that. Yeah, some people it doesn't. That doesn't.
I used to
happen
think I had compassion, and then I had kids, and realized prior I didn't. I thought I did.
Well, that can sometimes happen and sometimes not.
Well, I just think it makes.
I thought that Mark Hamill made the movie. He was amazing.
Yes, you really liked him.
I loved him.
He was fantastic. He was fantastic. I love grumpy old Luke.
I do too.
I'll be honest.
I do too.
Yeah, me too. Actually, of all the,
I like him too.
I didn't mind grumpy old Luke at all.
Yeah.
Again, which makes me go back to A, the fast turn, and then B, why not have grumpy Luke fucking go down there? And when you come out of the fucking cloud, he's got his fucking lightsaber.
Right.
He could still do. Then he could he could actually do the dissolve more like Kenobi after a badass laser fucking sword fight.
Because I think he didn't want to ever actually take the chance of hurting Ben. I think that this was the only way that he could stop them without having to actually hurt or kill Ben himself.
Well, that makes sense.
I cannot. That's one of those things I can't, because to me it's like that was just as much trouble story-wise. It's such a hole. Makes no sense. There's no it's just
it works for me. That now I will agree that the turn
it's like
is too
Iron
quick.
Man 3, bitches. That's what it felt like.
It's
Iron Man.
It's a little shade black. I'll give you that. but the turn is too quick, and I will totally give you that. And as far as
that's movie making.
Pacing, this movie is shit. I will give you that. I will give you that 150 times over, that the pacing is so screwy.
It's like, this is the first one that's over 2 hours long. Well, why?
Yeah.
Why? The pacing is bad, and honestly, I would have trimmed about a half hour off of it.
I agree with that. I would have too.
That was another thing.
Didn't need to be as long.
Yeah, you are starting a whole, everything now is fresh. Everything you do, you are laying a new track before the train. It's not like Clone Wars where it's like you have to retrofit your shit into an existing storyline. We all know where that's going. So it's those movies were sort of assembling things to fit within the mythology Yeah, we all know Jar Jar Binks probably did not exist when fucking George Lucas wrote that story way back when. But
yeah, and I think the other thing to remember with a lot of this movie too, with a lot of Last Jedi, and it's something that I kept in mind with Force Awakens and Rogue One, is you have to remember that when it all ends, Disney has the final say. And I know there was several things where I was like, this feels like Disney. This doesn't feel like Rian Johnson. This is Disney.
She is very secure in her decision, and I like that.
There you go.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're not talking me down on that
well,
one.
No. I know that time will weed all people down on this, because I remember being, bully about, what was it? Everyone was all crazy about Phantom Menace, and within a few months, everyone was like, what did we just watch, guys?"
Right. I hated it in theaters. I remember walking out of the theater, turning to my dad, and being like, "This is the most disappointed I've ever been in my entire life."
I
was like, "Welcome to adulthood."
I kind of felt bad for that generation, the generation of kids that was their Star Wars.
Me.
And, I feel bad for you guys.
13. I was 13 or 14 when Phantom Menace came out.
Which is why I loved. I know you didn't like it, but Abrams' fucking Star Wars, I was like, I liked it. This is great. Kids, the kids who are coming in like this is their Star Wars.
Oh, it was perfect for kids.
Lucky them.
Loved it for families.
Because it hits all the beats of the regular Star Wars. It has just the right tie-ins. It has pathos. I like the setup. But
and my digs at it were not like critical digs or me saying it's a bad movie. I didn't connect with it personally. No, it's a fantastic Star Wars film, and I couldn't be happier that it's the first entry in the new Star Wars movies, because it took all the things about the old Star Wars that were great, updated them, and brought in the next generation. So nothing against Abrams' film.
And after the fact, it's fun. The Star Killer base, it essentially is a bigger Death Star. We all get it. What else could you do? the bigger Death Star.
Yeah.
The biggest Death Star.
Yes, this is even bigger. It has to suck off the sun. Okay, so everything has problems, but everything felt in the pocket of Star Wars. And this one felt like it was really going for the Jedi thing. But it just... I'm sorry, the Empire thing.
I was going to say,
it gave you that dark, it was like playing with the themes of, are these two, how are these two connected? Will they become like boyfriend, girlfriend? I felt like was sort of.
Oh, Kylo and Rey?
Yeah, it was like the push, it was kind of the push-pull of that, what would be in the first film, the relationship of father-son. It was like, are we enemies? Are we friends? What's going on here? There was the tension of the Force. Was going on there.
The tension of the Force.
The tension of the Force. Except, I still read Rey as being completely asexual, and when he shows up shirtless, like the look on her face, she was just like, no, I am not interested.
I don't know what it is. I find her, I think she's such a cutie. Like I'd watch her do.
She's gorgeous.
I'd watch her do anything.
Beautiful.
Like she could do my taxes.
But she doesn't she doesn't give off. She doesn't give off like she gives off like an asexual. Like she just has that way about her.
I guess. Well, I mean,
I totally get that.
That's Star Wars. They're not supposed to have boobs in Star Wars.
When he does come with his shirt off, she's like, whatever. Okay, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's just like, why did you do this? Did you have to make it weird? Why? Like she just seems sort of annoyed.
Nothing has changed. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's all about you, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Then there was Laura Dern, who was shoved in as a character from a book. I love Laura Dern, too.
She's so good, and the character from the book's my favorite character from the books, so...
Here's the thing.
She should have been introduced better.
Yeah, as a friend of mine said, I don't want to have to read a book to know what's going on in a story. Yeah. And it's that old... It feels like, oh, you're the best friend. Oh, you're a red shirt, aren't you? Because we've just met you. And you're the best buddy in the world to the hero.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that was not... She should have been introduced better. I absolutely agree. But I think the Poe storyline should have just been dropped. Drop Poe.
Yeah. I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that, too.
I'm kind of with you.
Yeah,
there was a lot of that was forced in.
They had to force him in,
Yeah, it was so
forced in. There was a white male that wasn't a bad guy?
I know, right?
Well, wait, actually, let's talk about it then. What's his name story felt forced in there, too. It was like the side adventure to Gamble Planet.
Gamble Planet.
Yeah.
Gamble Planet is silly, and I think they should have taken Poe's storyline out and then taken Rose and Finn's storyline and actually made something of it. Like actually have Finn encounter.
As you sit here and peel this thing back, it needs story work.
Oh, it needs help. It needs love. I just feel like the what I got out of it is so much more than the story problems that I'm fine with overlooking the story problems because of everything
And I
else.
guess that's fine. You know, because Cameron also, like, it's so weird because our son, like, in the movie, like, he really had that experience where I think he thought it was, oh, this is amazing. This is the best Star Wars ever. But then the internet got to him. You know what I mean? He started, I like what Michael Consolmagno said. He's like, you know, I had a meal and I felt satisfied. But then as I sat back and digested, there was things that just didn't sit well in my stomach anymore.
Yeah.
You know, it just started giving me gas.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I understand that. I just it just worked for me. This movie worked for me on a personal level and I loved it.
But that's why they're made, because they need to people need to feel.
What I really believe though now, after seeing the two movies, is the only way you can really go, if they're smart, the next movie will be like the solidification of Kylo Ren as, you know, Emperor Sith. You know,
right.
By the end of this new episode 3, let's call it, we should have a really badass bad guy, fully established and ready to fucking kick ass.
Right. I want him to be really bad.
And essentially, the next trilogy should be about taking him out.
I actually personally. So originally, the next movie was supposed to be Leia's wrap-up movie. Like, this was Luke's movie, and the first one was kind of Han's movie.
Right.
Yeah.
And the next one's supposed to be Leia's wrap-up, and you can really tell at the end of Last Jedi, like, where that's headed. Like, it's supposed to be Leia's movie is the next movie.
Right.
And now I'm kind of like, maybe we should just not have any more, and let's just start some other stories. Like, let's get away from the Skywalker family. Let's just leave this alone. Let's just go away from this and tell other stories.
Though. I think though, I mean, it was management's call. Like, it was what's her name's call that the stories with the crawl from now on, the main stories are Skywalker stories. They're Skywalker-tied stories. If it has a crawl, it's a Skywalker story. Otherwise, it won't have a crawl, and it's a side movie like Rogue.
Yeah, and the new Han Solo movie that's going to be terrible.
And then, well, you don't know that for sure. Actually, here's the thing. Here's what I'll say about Rogue. I saw it in the theater. In the theater, I was like, eh. But in the theater, in general, my experience is not always very good because you are you're in a space that's not yours. You know, like, you're kind of a prisoner to the space.
And when you want to talk, you want to talk at the screen, people don't really appreciate it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, different movies are different. Yeah,
I know.
like John Wick. I was like, I'm not watching that in the theater. I'm waiting until John Wick 2 is on home video and watch all the pretty colors.
And I just remember the first when we saw. What was it? Rogue One. I was sort of in a space of like, you know, I'm kind of tired. I remember getting there and just not being thrilled.
Well, and it's right around Christmas, so it's just like you're not feeling it anyway.
Yeah. Oh, and last Christmas I really wasn't feeling it. So yeah, and that definitely affected how I saw Rogue. I like it much more. I think there's a lot more there. I love fucking Donnie Yen scene.
Oh my God, Donnie Yen is the best thing in Rogue One.
He is great, and
Mads Mikkelsen.
Yeah, and the fucking droid. What's his name? Steve the Pirate.
K2S2. Yeah, Alan.
K2SO. Yeah, or whatever it is. Yeah.
K2SO. Sassbot.
He's so sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just so funny.
I loved Rogue One. The only thing I didn't like in Rogue One was Forrest Whitaker. Like, that was the only thing where I was just like, you're not working for me.
I get that. The first time I was the same way, but on repeat viewings, I love it. I love it. I love the choice.
He reminds me of Lawrence Fishburne in Predators. Did you ever see Robert Rodriguez's Predators with Adrian Brody?
No.
So Lawrence Fishburne plays a character that's like basically the Saw Gerrera, but for the Predators universe, and he's just this crazy guy that lives out in the middle of nowhere on this planet. And, like, they're totally doing the same sort of shtick. And so every time I'd see Forrest Whitaker, I'm just like, what the fuck? It's Cowboy Curtis. Wait, no.
I did like what Michael said. Michael said, he's like, if you're going to go for Don King, go all the way.
I know.
It's true.
He really did, though.
But I like
didn't even recognize him.
What he was doing was, like, he's doing sort of parallel Darth Vader. Apparently,
is that what it was?
What if Darth Vader was sort of like extreme rebel, as opposed to, and that was part of the choice with the mask. And then it was like, well, if I'm a guy who has to suck in like air all the time and limit breath and have breath problems, then when I talk, I'm gonna have some kind of weird affect.
Yeah,
I'm gonna talk like Christian Bale as Batman.
I know, like
it wasn't that bad, but I did
not that bad.
On repeat viewings,
Nothing's bad.
I have to say, I really love it because it's just like it. It is such like an actor's bold choice. He's like, fuck this. I'm going to eat up this scenery. I'm going to steal I'm going to steal the scene from everybody in this fucking camera because I'm going to go like this.
Yeah, because basically it's him and Mads Mikkelsen are the only ones that can really hold the camera in that movie.
He went big, man. I liked it. So, yeah, but on the first viewing, I was like, what the fuck is going on here?
The fuck is this?
Yeah. But I got, upon repeat viewings, I've kind of fallen in love with that performance. I
like it. I digged it. I dug it a lot.
Go back and look because you'll love it again.
Oh, I'm sure I will. I mean, I dug it I dug it in theaters. I was like, this is good. I liked it better than Force Awakens on first watch. Just again because Force Awakens is great, but it just felt like repeat. And I'm like, this is really fun. But if I wanted this, I could go watch A New Hope. So with Rogue One, it was at least a new story.
Yeah, you can take Rogue One, and the beautiful thing is you can play that into A New Hope, and there is this really cool continuity.
And then cry.
It's a really cool continuity feel, and it does work somehow. Even though it is, the only thing is Darth Vader does seem a little forgetful that he just fucking kicked everyone's ass. You know, he's a little too forgiving of them in the beginning there.
Yeah, that's fair.
If you look at what he just did, he's like, "You guys were just on my ship. I was just on your ship or something."
I was so excited to see him, though, at the end of Rogue One. Like, when he showed up and just started destroying everybody, I was like, yes!
Yeah. Because you realize that was the only lightsaber in the whole movie.
Yeah. That's true. Well, and it was his first time on screen since I saw him go, no! in Revenge of the Sith, so...
Yeah. But that's why I like Dani Yen. I like the whole, he's a Force user, but he's not a Jedi.
Yeah, that's like the Jedi witches, or not the Jedi witches, but the Force witches. They're really, there's so much weird stuff in the extended universe that I'm like, can we get into the weird stuff? Well,
that's why I thought, I had heard that they were going to start to enter the world of, the neutral Force. The Force just is. And, there's race of, and that is when it gets much more Zen-like. It's good or evil is all perspective of humans.
Exactly. It's all the Tao.
Yeah, light and dark is all perspective of where you sit, Are you a terrorist or are you a freedom fighter, It's all that kind of shit. But yeah, and I have no problem with that, but it didn't do that. It just became ambivalent. It didn't show the beauty of the Tao. It showed the confusion of it.
Yeah, but that struck a chord for me. Maybe it's, I don't know if it's a generational thing or a gender thing or a combination of those things or...
Well, I think sometimes it's a trick of the movie itself. Sometimes the movie can what was it? Dark Knight Rising. Dark Knight Rises. Yeah. In the theater, that movie does a great trick, especially if you're a Batman fan, because it hits a lot of Batman beats. But once you get away from it and you take the story apart, it does become what is going? This is the least Batman movie ever.
The fuck is happening here? Yeah.
He can't walk, but then he can. Don't forget the autopilot. Can we set that up anymore?
Yeah. Dark Knight Rises is something.
But it gives us Bane, so...
It does give us Bane.
An interesting take on Bane.
Hey, it gives us all the Bane memes, which is all that matters to me.
Yes, exactly.
Aren't they the best? The dancing meme.
Are you a fan of the show Girls?
That's a complicated answer.
Okay. Well, then you've watched the show, I guess.
Yes.
I never liked it. I found all the characters basically repulsive.
Yeah, basically, I only liked the male characters.
Yeah.
Which was what kept me around for a little bit, was that I liked some of the male characters. And I liked I liked Shoshana. The youngest, sort of naive girl. She was sweet, but everybody else, I was like the main two characters, Marnie and whatever Lena Dunham's character's name is. I can't even remember.
I can't remember their names either.
They're both just the worst, and I'm with you. They're just the worst. Like I quit after 2 seasons. I quit after 2 seasons. Yeah, I watched this. I watched the end of the 2nd season, and I was like, yeah, I'm done with this. Lena Dunham can eat glass, whatever.
Yeah.
But I could tell that there were a lot of like girls in the audience that liked the show Girls when the first time we saw the last episode, because when he took the helmet off, the girls were like,
right.
What?
And there was
he's got the evil dreamy
He
thing.
has something.
Really?
You know what?
Yeah.
He has like, to me, he has like a Benedict Cumberbatch, but not.
Yeah, like
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Like an Adrian Brody, like kind of weird.
I don't get it, but
he's
okay.
like chiseled.
I mean, I get that. I get that you guys are saying that, but
Yeah.
that doesn't faze me that way.
Yeah, but
okay.
I don't get I don't know. Like there
Like, I get
is
it.
something attractive about him for sure.
I'm
He's
trying to think of a
very-
woman who's like the equivalent. It's like,
Maybe.
it's like ugly pretty.
well,
maybe
not
even,
ugly pretty.
maybe the girl from what do you call it? The girl from the Guild.
That could be.
Oh, Felicia Day?
Yeah, because she's kind of.
No, she's. I've seen her in person. She's so pretty, it's not even fair.
I know she's adorable.
She's more pretty than not pretty.
I was gonna say like Kim Basinger.
That could be.
Really? I think most people would just say she's
Yeah.
hot. You know, like she would be like a check box. She's a
Yeah.
California girl. Hot. You want to find someone who's maybe. Oh wait, what about
Amanda Palmer.
It was Amanda.
Or the girl who
Amanda
fucking
Palmer, maybe.
Who
yeah.
was what's
Yeah.
her name? Who was Hella in Kate Blanchett?
Kate Blanchett is so
Blanchett
pretty.
is
Yes, we all agree, but believe it or not, there are
God.
people out there who look at her and go, "I don't get it."
Because she's mannish.
Yeah,
you
like
think?
Ralph Garman. He's on record as saying, "I don't get
Yeah,
it."
but I don't always agree with his opinion. And she's
I'm
amazing.
gonna disagree with that opinion because she
She's
is
amazing.
stunning.
I agree. I think she's hot too, and I really dig her, and I think she's gorgeous.
How about this?
and
Kate
she has-
Winslet.
Oh, Kate Winslet's fucking so hot.
But that's what I mean. Not everybody thinks that too. Kate
Really?
Winslet. Yeah.
Oh my god.
But I remember Titanic.
She's amazing.
Yeah, but like even post Titanic, Kate
Yeah.
is even more likable.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she got more and more likable, and then she worked for Woody Allen, and now I'm like, oh, I liked you.
I love Woody Allen.
I do too.
Amazing
the whole-
writer.
it's so complicated, the whole Woody Allen thing.
Yeah.
I mean, to some people
the
it's not,
best
but
breakup
it's so-
movie ever is always
I
going to be
know.
a fucking, what do you call it? God damn it! Why can't I think of the name? The one that won the Academy Award and beat Star Wars. Annie Hall. Thank you.
It's an amazing movie.
And here's the thing, like I was saying about how movies have to connect with you. I cannot connect with Woody Allen movies. I've never been able to. I don't get it.
Yeah.
Wow.
See, and that happens.
That's
it
a
does.
shame. Well, it's sad. Maybe someday. I hope
someday.
that you can connect with at least that movie.
That's
because
a great movie.
Annie Hall is the only one I think I have any hope of connecting
You would
with.
probably. And,
What
and
a
I know,
cast.
And
It's
I
got-
know,
because Diane Lane.
Yeah.
And who else? It's got fucking.
I know you would love it.
It's got cameos by fucking what's his name? God.
I'm horrible with names. I can't think of
Well, it'll come to me in a second. Who's the guy who was in Thor who stole the whole fucking movie?
it.
Tom Hiddleston?
No. Who was?
Because he did steal. He stole every Marvel movie he's been in.
That would be the guy who said, "Yeah, oh yeah, now it's
Oh,
all ooh
are you
and
talking
ah."
about? Are you
But
talking about Stellan Skarsgård?
soon it'll be running and screaming and
Oh my God! What's
Stellan
his name?
Skarsgård.
Jeff Goldblum.
Jeff Goldblum.
Oh, that's
Oh
from the
my
new
God,
Thor. I haven't seen.
yes.
I still haven't seen Ragnarok.
You have not seen
Oh
Ragnarok
God,
yet.
you would love it.
No.
You're gonna love it. Oh my
Ooh,
God! it's
let's
amazing.
do that.
He
Watch
steals
it.
the movie.
Watch it, and then we'll talk about it because
It's totally
he-
dumb, but it's so much
Jeff-
fun. It's like Thor.
Yeah.
Jeff
I mean,
Goldblum.
it's like Thor. It is
Jeff
Thor.
Goldblum to me is like amazing.
It has a very Flash Gordon vibe to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I figured going in, and I really like the director.
Yeah.
He did like one of my favorite little comedies from a couple years ago, What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh.
Which is the cutest little movie. It's this little indie flick, and it's a fake documentary about
okay.
4 vampires that live together in New Zealand.
Oh,
my
wow,
God,
cool,
that
cool.
sounds so funny.
And one of them is like, okay, so one's
So
like
he's a New Zealand filmmaker, is he?
yeah, he's a Kiwi.
Oh, cool.
And
Lucky.
it's like the first one is this like old like Nosferatu style vampire, and then there's like a Bram Stoker's Dracula, like the Keanu Reeves kind of version vampire, and then there's like a Lestat style vampire, and then there's
that's
the
one I
young
like.
new vampire who's trying to figure it all out, and it's just these 4 guys that live in a flat together. And
What's
they're
it called?
all-
What's it called?
What We Do in the Shadows.
I wanna
that's
see
definitely a
the
watcher.
Lestat
That's something
vampire I like.
We'll check out.
Oh, it's phenomenal. It's so funny.
I've heard of that too. Now that you say it, because it's such a long title, those always stand. It's like, oh, okay.
It's on Amazon Prime for streaming. So.
Oh, awesome!
Wow,
it's a done deal then.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites. I watch it like pretty much anytime we have people over and we don't know what to like. We're just like, what do we watch? What do we do? I'm like, let's just put What We Do in the Shadows on because everybody likes it and nobody's gotten upset about it yet. So,
did you? Speaking of offbeat New Zealand films, did you ever see what the hell was it? Brain Dead, which
Jesus, yes.
Okay, amazing.
Yeah, Peter Jackson.
Yes, I kick ass for the Lord.
I kick ass for the Lord. Yeah. Oh yeah, I've seen Brain Dead, Dead Alive, or Brain Dead, depending on the country.
Yes.
And Dani, what was what were the other ones? Heavenly Creatures was the other one, right?
He did Heavenly Creatures, Bad Taste.
Yeah.
Also, Meet the Feebles.
Oh, the Feebles. That's right.
I was a fan of his even back before. I was just a fan of his because of his horror stuff. So I had ordered like on VHS from New Zealand.
Oh my god!
Like a bunch of his shit, including and I still even have them somewhere. VHS. We're talking, so we're going back a while. But he also did something called Forgotten Silver, which was a mockumentary about New Zealand film, as if like they had done some epic film there that had been lost at the time. And it's pretty interesting stuff. It shows off their digital tech.
That's awesome.
She sounds so professional. She's typing while she's talking.
I know. She's like,
I know. I have a mechanical keyboard, and it's the loudest.
This is like a show. We could totally drop the show.
Well, I mean, it is showy. Yes.
This is the introduction, our Dani introduction show.
Yeah, kind of. Could be.
We'll slash all the...
It's basically all the Star Wars shit.
Yeah, all the fighting. We'll cut all that out.
Star Wars part 2. There was no fighting in that. It was just, if anything, it was discussion.
It's really a tease.
My ire is not up. I like that people like the Star Wars movie.
And
that means there'll be more of them.
And there's a reason. There's a reason behind it too, because I loved all the characters. Like I got a very like warm and fuzzy feeling seeing like the characters again, like Chewie and Yoda. I just get like a nostalgic feeling, but it did like for me it lacked a lot of the story that I didn't really understand some things, probably because I wasn't as into it as some people growing up. But to me, like the basic, liking all the characters was there for me, and I totally loved it.
To me, all the sins really came in the writing, and so and apparently this was a writer-director, so the guy who wrote it also directed. So
and for me,
they can only fall on one guy.
And for me, I've never gone deep into Star Wars, so I guess for someone like me, it was but then for Dani's very into it and loved it too.
Did you read?
There's so many different.
Are you a person who read a lot of the books prior to the reboot? Like, were you familiar with the Zahn books, the Timothy Zahn?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Okay, so
see, she's read.
I mean, if anything, those were originally canon, and now all that canon.
No, it's not. Yeah, I remember being really mad because I was like, Mara Jade, no.
Heir to the Empire. What was it? It was Heir to the Empire. There was like a couple others, but
there's a ton of them. I remember reading there's one called The Courtship of Princess Leia that I remember reading when I was like 12 or 13. It's all about Princess Leia being betrothed to a prince from another planet, and she ends up being like, nah, I ain't doing this, and runs off with Han instead. And I was like, this is the best story I've ever read.
And then they have like books like Star Wars Scoundrels, where it's like, Ocean's 11, but with like,
Those are new canon, though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Are they even canon anymore?
Yeah, those are current canon because I have one. Those are under the Disney canon.
Ah, okay. So they now fit. But what I do also like, because I've been watching Rebels. Do you watch Rebels?
I have not watched Rebels.
Okay, now I was a person who was not as much into the whole Clone Wars Rebels thing, but I've since, I'm going back and watching the Clone Wars because Rebels is so good, and it's made by the same guys, and they're I watched a few of Clone Wars. I watched, the movie. I think I took Cameron to see it at the theater, believe it or not.
Yeah, you did. He loved it, too. Yeah.
But then anyway... But Rebels is really good, and then they're doing things like, when I was a kid, they had the troop transport toy, which was basically what happened was they had voice technology, so they could do things like, put sounds on your toy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they had this 6-button thing with 6 toys, and they're like, well, what do we do? Well, let's build a toy around it. They made this the Imperial troop transport toy.
Okay.
And so not in any of the movies, just a thing they made up that was a toy. But what did these guys do? They put it in an episode of Rebels. And in so making it canon.
That's cool.
Another thing they've done, did you ever go on the Star Tours ride on in Disney?
We've been on that.
There's an episode wherein you're on those shuttles.
Oh, that's cool.
Even driven by that droid, the Pee-wee droid. So, like, they've made that canon. You know,
that's cool.
Yeah, so they're kind of putting things that have always been Star Wars-y into, like, this show, and therefore making it part of canon.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard really good things.
It is. It's a really good show. My favorite character on it is the, what do you call it? The Twi'lek girl who's...
Ashoka?
Yeah, who's the captain. Because it's amazing. A fucking stable character. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Someone without, all kinds of fucking problems. And Clapper has got to be my favorite droid in all of Star Wars existence.
I don't know. R2 is probably forever my favorite.
Yeah.
He's like, I like him because he's a grumpy old R2.
Yeah.
You know,
I just like him because he's the only droid I can picture saying fuck.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, exactly.
I love
C-3PO.
C-3PO is my favorite.
Yeah, you are more like C-3PO. I think that's why you like him.
It's very
But, and that was another thing. I felt like both R2 and C-3PO were like shit. They were like...
I loved R2 scene where he plays the Leia thing and Luke goes, he's like, that's low. You can't do that. That was awesome.
Yes, I agree. That was good. But it was like... And they were just... It feels like C-3PO has been just totally shit on and forgotten. Like he's...
Aww.
It really does.
I didn't feel that way.
Go back.
I didn't feel that way. I felt like he was kind of like he's always been, which is just sort of this annoying thing that's there to help you.
Oh, but it never...
Yeah, he's annoying, but in
it's
a loving
never
way.
felt this harsh.
I love it, but...
It's never felt this harsh.
It's like something up his butt.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, this is like not giving Chewie a medal harsh, I think.
Oh my god, I love Chewie and Chewie.
Chewie did not get enough to do. I was like, Chewie's basically Rey's Uber driver in this movie.
But I'll tell you this, though, thank God, because every time Chewie's in the scene, he wins it.
He totally does. Well, he's supposed to.
Yeah. Oh my god, Chewie and the Porgs.
Yes. Yeah.
I know, and the Porgs are adorable, too.
Yeah, and thank God the Porgs weren't annoying.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, everybody was so worried about that. They're like, oh god, they're going to be just like the Ewoks. And I'm like, no, I think this is a little more subtle than that. And it was really just because of the puffins, because they had all the puffins on the island and couldn't film around them. So I think that's part of why they're not too annoying, is because they were actual birds.
Yeah, they're just creatures as opposed to, like, we're your Ewok-y friends.
But then there
I
were
still
the
love
other
the Ewoks.
What were the other ones? Like those gold?
I remember not minding the Ewoks at the time.
Yeah.
I still love the Ewoks. Like, I love the idea that these little teddy bear people went up against the Empire and won.
Yeah,
like, that's hilarious. I love
Listen, it isn't until like 20 years later that people started hating on Ewoks, let me tell you. Because I was there for that. I remember seeing it in theater. I was old, when did that one come out? 82? Or 83? Somewhere in
82
there?
or 83, yeah.
It was 82, I was 12. It was 83, I was 13. So I was old enough to be cynical. And I didn't, I accepted the Ewoks. I was okay with them.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because there wasn't anything to really hate about.
They didn't overly cute them.
No.
Yeah, they're not like some of the stuff in the prequels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it got off the hook come to prequels.
Everything gets off the hook with the prequels.
Well, that's
the one thing. When people are mad about this one, I'm like, guys, do you remember the prequels? Like, I understand, but just perspective. Just remember.
Again, but this one had some of the tediousness of Attack of the Clones. That's what bothered.
It had some, but not like.
But it doesn't need to be. Again, it has a clean slate in front of it. It can do whatever it wants to. So it doesn't. It falls victim to what so many movies do now. It's like I think people just feel like if the plot isn't super complex underneath, people are going to be like, I don't know, disappointed somehow, or that they'll realize that the story is stupid. But it's myth, so it's okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the other thing too is that it's Disney and they're trying to sell everything to China. So,
oh my God.
Like, I mean, that is a huge, huge thing. Any blockbuster you look at, some of the decisions were made because they're trying to get that sweet international box office.
Yeah, you could have trimmed, you could have cut, you could have shaped better.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll give you that. I would love to see a director's cut one day, but we will never get one.
Do you think? Oh, you think he didn't have Final Cut? Because he got everything else. Why would you get to be able to write and direct that thing and not have Final Cut?
Because Disney.
Yeah.
Because Disney and J.J. Abrams produced it, and J.J. Abrams is notoriously hands-on.
But what do you call it? Apparently Kathleen Kennedy loved him. Otherwise, why the fuck did they offer him his own trilogy?
Because she loved him. I love him, so.
I don't get that. Well, maybe you can get him personally and love him personally. Maybe he's the nicest guy in the world. I mean, I've heard him on Kevin's, on one of his movie makers. I mean, he's all right. He was a guy who spent a lot of time in youth camp as a kid.
Yeah. He had a very lonely childhood.
Did he?
That makes me feel sad.
I mean, not lonely, but very, sort of, I don't want to say repressed.
Maybe I'm confusing him with another filmmaker, because I just remember hearing like
Was he a loner?
I just remember this one guy having the most like fucking normal suburban California middle class.
Maybe that. Yeah, no, that is probably it. Because he makes movies with all his brother and his cousins, and like it's a whole family affair.
And, like a youth group he went to, and so it was like he's like he just seemed like way too Mr. Milquetoast for me.
He grew up middle class in California. Yeah. He is very milquetoast, but I still love him. And I think if you see some of his earlier stuff, like, you can kind of appreciate him more because he wears it so much more on his sleeve in his early work that, like, once you understand kind of the direction he's coming from, you're like, oh. But he's...
I think the other thing, I think they were comparing notes, and it was like, he was like, no, fucking Bruce Willis was not a douchebag on my set.
Maybe he wasn't, though.
So I wonder why. I wonder what the difference was.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe... My theory is that Joseph Gordon-Levitt brings out, like, the nicest parts of everyone because he's just a precious angel. So...
He was Robin. I'll give him that.
I know, but, like, every time I've ever seen him in interviews or anything, he's just this, like, super hopeful, really sweet, like, wide-eyed, adorable... Like, he just radiates, like, kindness and empathy, and I just can't imagine anybody being mean to him, so I'm like, maybe that rubbed off on Bruce Willis a little bit.
Yeah. Could be.
That
Who
could
knows?
be.
Anything could happen.
Yeah, that could be.
That's my theory.
Yes, it's a good theory. It's as good as any. Looper.
Yeah, Looper's, it's not his best film at all.
You know who I liked in Looper was what's his name? Jeff Daniels.
Oh, he was so good in Looper.
Yeah, because he's so different than most of the roles he's played, and he's such I've never seen him quite that sarcastic or just.
And I love Paul Dano in that movie too.
Yeah. There are definitely some interesting performances in there. That's one of them. Well,
I know
the whole time travel thing.
Yeah,
fucked up.
Yeah. The other two films of his are both so different, and that's the weird thing about Rian Johnson is like he made the three most different fucking films on the planet Earth for his first three films. Because Brick is a detective noir story set in a high school.
Yeah, I remember Brick.
Yeah, and then The Brothers Bloom is a con man love story.
Yeah, because I remember he went on all about noir. That's right, on that show.
Because Brick is a noir.
Yeah, he went on about it, and he says he thinks Looper is very noir.
It's kind of noir.
Yeah.
It's noir in the same way that like Blade Runner is noir.
Yeah, like in that time travel, the transitions are poof, you appear. Like. He even got shit. Like, is anybody going to fix that? Put any magic stuff in there? He's like, no, that's wouldn't that be what it's like? In reality, you aren't there, then you are.
Yeah.
It's like and the beauty is that's a basic cut. You don't get
exactly.
Much,
you can do it in camera.
Filmmaking 101.
Yeah. Well, he has Johnson. I just got done because we're doing our episode on Johnson today, actually. And I just got done watching the commentary for Brothers Bloom, and then I was halfway through Looper. And he talks about how he loves doing everything in camera if he can. So that makes sense that he would want to do it that way so he could just do it in camera.
Yeah. And it does make sense. If there was time travel, there wouldn't be a big poof. You know what I mean? As far as I know,
my favorite time travel thing now is Future Man, and I'm just never going to get off that hype train.
Oh, I don't know that. But it's
the Hulu show. It's really funny. It's Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg's new show.
Yeah. My favorite take on time travel of late was 11, 18, 16.
Oh, the Stephen King?
Yeah. Not the show, the book itself. I love the concept of when you try and change time pushes back.
Oh yeah, something always happens. Don't ever mess with time. That happens on Future Man too, and it's a comedy show, so it definitely happens more in terms of like awful, silly things happening.
Okay.
That show is hysterical. Like, you guys would probably like it because it feels sort of like it feels in the same family as like a Kevin Smith thing. Like, it is so crass. It's all dick and fart jokes, but it's so much fun.
What's Seth? Which Seth is it? Seth MacFarlane or Seth?
Seth Rogen.
Seth Rogen. One of the Seths. And then there's Seth Green also. So
there's three funny Seths, but no, it's Seth Rogen and Josh Hutcherson from The Hunger Games.
Oh yes,
okay.
He's the main character, and he's supposed to be the savior of the universe. And it's basically the Last Starfighter. He beats this video game, and these people show up from the future, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you're the savior," and he's like, "Oh, it's the Last Starfighter," and they're like, "The fuck are you talking about?"
Oh yeah. I think I might have seen that clip.
That sounds good.
Yeah, it's on Hulu. It's really, really, really funny. It's super, super crass. It's it's violent. It's vulgar. There's nudity. I love it.
Means we have to re-up our Hulu.
Yeah, we don't have Hulu now.
Yeah, we've cut a... That was one we were like, can we cut the Hulu?
Oh, Hulu.
Yeah, we got to cut something.
Hulu, you're selling.
Yeah, I've been playing that game too. I'm like, which one do I cut?
Yeah, well, we kind of walked away when Comedy Central...
cut Stars.
When Comedy Central left Hulu, it was like, well... Now what? I mean, like, that was really all... We were just kind of watching it for last night's Comedy Central.
Right.
Yeah, that's fair. But now all the FX shows are on Hulu. So.
Oh, are they?
Are they?
Yeah. Or a lot of them. I know It's Always Sunny is, and that's the only one I really, really get upset about. But because they took it off Netflix, and I was like, no! And then they're like, oh, it's on Hulu. I was like, okay, this is fine. As long as I have somewhere to watch it, I don't care.
I'm really wondering if Disney is rethinking buying Netflix.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so too, because it was like, oh, we're doing our network. It's going to be huge. Everybody wait, and we're going to charge you all motherfuckers, and here comes our app. And then all of a sudden, they kind of got quiet, and it feels like there's a lot of Disney product on there again.
Yep.
I don't know.
Right.
Something weird's going on.
I wouldn't be surprised if they partner.
But I think it's smarter to not.
I think it's for who? It depends.
I think it's smarter for Disney to be separate.
Oh,
I think they need to stay separate.
I disagree. I think if Disney was smart, they would partner with Netflix. Yes.
If they're smart, yes. But I honestly, I'm so afraid of the Disneyfication of all media. Like, I don't want this to happen, and I hate it, and I'm so mad that they bought Fox.
I agree, but here's the thing. I have mixed feelings.
Inevitable.
They didn't buy Fox. They bought 21st Century's Library.
I understand that they bought X-Men and I understand what they bought, but I'm concerned because that means they now own Deadpool, which means that they're going to try and make it safe. Like, I'm afraid that Disney is going to make everything safe.
Yeah,
and
I disagree. I think from what I understand of Disney, like, in those umbrellas, they allow, for creativity and stuff.
Right.
They're not the dark, scary studio that everybody thinks they sort of are.
Well, and like people,
there's a lot more art going on there than crap.
Right. I mean, people just feel like it because it can be a safe sort of place and the cartoony and all. So people just think that that's going to happen to certain characters.
Well, let's put it this way: Marvel has gotten better under Disney.
I would agree with that, but my big concern is that they. The two biggest films that really took chances in the superhero canon were both non-Disney, non-Marvel. It's because you've got Deadpool, which was the first rated R comic book movie since, like, Blade. And then you've got Logan, which is just its own other thing. Like, it's so different. It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's absolutely incredible.
So
it's hey, we can tell a story that has superheroes in it, but is not necessarily a superhero story.
Yeah, no, it's not a superhero story at all.
It's a story about getting old.
Yeah. It's about aging, and it's about loss and grief, and oh my god, it's so brilliant.
Passing things on to the next generation. Yeah, it's my favorite film of probably 2017.
I didn't realize I was going to like it as much as I did. I really did.
I loved it. And my thing is that my concern is that Disney will not have the balls to do stuff like Logan and Deadpool because they do play it kind of safe. Like, especially if you look at, like, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, they're just like, oh, we're going to take the wacky stuff that worked in Guardians of the Galaxy and turn it up to 11. Like, they basically... Oh,
I disagree. I love Guardians of the Galaxy 2. And I disagree. I don't think they did that at all because I remember thinking, because I even heard it said, it was like, everything you think that Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is, you're wrong. you're completely wrong, and it's going to completely surprise you. And, he was absolutely right. And I love that movie.
To like it.
And
I loved it
was
too.
actually
I liked it,
was that
but-
2017? If that was 2017, that was my favorite movie of 2017.
No, that was-
And Logan's definitely up there.
2016, wasn't it?
That was 2016.
Okay.
Logan's 2017. Yeah, Guardians was 2016. But no, my thing with Guardians, my friends described it as being the all Crunchberries version. And I feel like that's the best description. Like, it's the all marshmallows, all Crunchberries. Like
all I know is, as I got to tell Sean Gunn on the show, like, I'm sick of going to movies like that movie, like Guardians, like Logan, where I'm a fucking basket case at the end. It's supposed to be it's a superhero movie, and at the end, I'm fucking, when Yondu dies.
I was not okay with that.
Yondu is the bad father.
God, I love that.
That everybody has, who fucking like finally tells you, I was a bad father, but here's sort of why and what, he says all the right things on his deathbed. That was so moving. That was a perfect scene. I love it. And Rooker is a fucking amazing actor, and so like
Rooker's the best part of that movie.
So I'm like,
it was so
from
amazing.
from that point of the movie on, I'm pretty much a basket case, and then they're like doing fireworks shows to him, and I'm like, blubber an idiot by the end of that movie, and it was amazing. I loved it, and I loved every minute of it. I
loved all of that. I absolutely loved all that. I loved everything with Rooker. I loved
Kurt Russell. I love how the song was tied in.
I thought Kurt Russell was underutilized. I thought Kurt Russell could have been so much better in it, and I didn't like any of the stuff with Kurt Russell and his creepy planet and all of
but
that.
But that was the whole point. And that was genius too, because what happened was ages ago, or they were like, because that was that's a Fantastic Four bad guy, technically.
Yeah.
It's a guy in the Fantastic Four universe. But there was something that they needed, that Fox needed for one of the movies they were doing. And so they were like, okay, yeah, you guys can take that, but we need, can we have, we're going to use Ego, the Living Planet. And they're like, oh, what are you going to use it for? We'd like to throw it as background flavor for something.
Yeah.
They built the whole fucking... They built the whole story around it. It was amazing. That to me was an amazing hoodwink, and I just loved it. I loved that whole thing. I loved that movie. It was great.
I liked
so
it.
Much fun.
I liked
another
it.
Great
well
soundtrack.
Yeah, I still like the first one better.
I love the first one too.
Yeah, the soundtrack's great too. Though both of them are.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, both soundtracks are great. I prefer the first one just because there's more songs that I like on it, but I do really, really like some of the choices on the second one.
It's funny because like Kevin Smith was the same way, and then I remember tweeting at him or tweeting to him like, you think that, but go back and replay that second one, because I think what happened was everybody played that soundtrack that summer.
Oh yeah.
And just sort of fell in love with it, and sort of like almost, retro remembered it.
Right.
Or false, in some respects, falsely remembered it. Because the second album did have a lot more sort of mainstream bang hits. So on the replay, I'm like, oh, wow, that's there. That's there, too. It's like when you start playing it, you go, oh, wow, there's more on here than I remember. There's like a Cheap Trick song. There's,
and it's my favorite Cheap Trick song. Yeah. So you can't go wrong with Surrender.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, oh wow, this is on here too. It's like one of those things where we set that expectation by the first one, but the second one isn't as bad as you think.
Yeah, and then
it's not bad. Yeah. It's not bad by any stretch.
And the Pina Colada song.
That was on the first one. That's
the first one.
That song.
Yeah, the most politically incorrect song ever.
I know, but I love it.
He's
cheating on her.
I know.
He's cheating on her with her. That's why it's funny.
With her, I know. He's still a cheater.
Yeah, apparently she was cheating too.
She's cheating too. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's why it doesn't bother me, is because it's like they both were like, oh, we're sad.
Pina Colada, getting fucked in the ass.
That song is basically Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, the song.
How specific. Yeah. How specific.
It's a great song.
Very specific personal ad.
Yeah.
It's pretty
It is very specific.
I guess it's better than the modern. I like travel and wine.
Yes. Lots of wine, please. Lots of wine.
All right. Welcome. We're so glad to have you on board.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
I don't say that enough. I will and next year, we will definitely have you in the Star Wars Christmas show, because they're doing like a Star Wars movie a year
every year.
around Christmas.
Yeah.
It'll make it all work. So.
Beautiful. I can bitch about Solo and just go on and on about how Donald Glover is the most beautiful man in the galaxy.
And we'll probably all love it, and you'll probably hate it.
And you will get no arguments about Donald Glover from here.
Oh, he's perfect, and I can't wait for Atlanta to come back. They just announced March 1st. I'm like, yes!
He is beautiful, yes.
Two-Face?
No.
Yeah, actually, he was Two-Face, if you think about it.
Who?
Lando.
No, he wasn't.
Oh, okay.
Go back to the first Batman.
Okay. Yeah.
Batman 1 and 2, he is the fucking what? He's Two-Face. He's fucking what's his name? I can't think of his real name now.
Harvey Dent.
He's Harvey Dent. He's the prosecutor Harvey Dent in the first two Batman movies.
You're not wrong.
And I'll do you. And in Lego Batman, they used his voice for fucking Two-Face. Bada boom.
That's beautiful.
Yes. Oh my God.
There you go.
You go.
Slam to dunk. And there you have the SMeadlines girl.
That's our girl right there.
Miss Dani Rat.
Yes.
Awesome person extraordinaire. So you'll hear more of her weekly. So.
Awesome person extraordinaire.
Yeah. Come on, I'm just trying to close out what we're doing here.
I know.
Get the show in the can.
Endearing. That's all. It's sweet.
Happy New Year again. Our first guest of, our first guest segment at least, of 2018. So there you have it. And maybe next week, you'll finally, after months of teasing, since like October or some shit, you'll finally have JC from fucking Scum and Villainy. I'm like, Fear and Loathing? Scum and Villainy? What are we talking? Fear and Loathing in New York City?
New York City.
In Las Vegas. All right. See, I'm starting to lose it.
Yeah.
You've
been losing it a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
How was your New Year's Eve? Did you have a fun time? Did you have a blast? I know I did. Woo!
It was fun.
Party!
Oh,
Did you get drunk and fall on your face?
You know what I did want to add, though? Because I like to add my little Instagram follower spot.
Yeah.
Check out the Busy Phillips on Instagram. So
there
she's
you go.
She's an awesome person to
she's
follow.
the actress who was in
Freaks and Geeks,
Freaks
and also
Geeks.
other things. She's like way more, but she's like does videos and she's awesome to follow on Instagram.
Somehow she's become. Oh, she was also in. There's a connection to the Kevin Smith universe, sort of.
What's that?
There's a connection. She was in White Chicks.
She was in
a
White
movie
Chicks.
written by Andrew McElfresh.
Yes.
Also the winner of a Razzie, apparently, for worst written movie of that year.
Yeah. She was in Cougar Town, too, I believe.
Oh, is she?
She's pretty hot.
Sense.
Yeah.
There you go.
I like her. So check out Busy Phillips.
Cougar Town. That's a show.
She's
Cougars. The
super
Cougar
cute.
ladies will fuck
She's
your brains
just
out,
normal,
folks.
though. To me, she's
Cougar.
just normal.
I'm going to fuck you young cubs.
I'm a cool mom. I'm a hip mom.
I'm a fucking cougar mom. Fuck me in the ass. Okay, I don't know what happened there. I got all crazy. I got carried away. In my mind, I became the evil cougar character.
We're talking about Busy
the
Phillips.
horny.
And all
No,
sorts
I
of
wasn't.
stuff
That was nothing to do with it. I've never even seen the show Cougar Town. I'm mocking the name. How it's they sexualize older women with cougars.
I know. And then there's ass fucking.
And then there's ass fucking with those cougars because because they're older and ready for it, ready to experiment. Their husbands are out of town. The cougars are taking it in the ass in Cougar Town. Cougar Ass Town.
Cougar Ass Town.
Cougar Ass Town.
Heavy on the ass.
Hang on.
Cougar Ass.
Cougar Ass Town on CBS. I don't know what that's on. I don't even know if it's on that, but hey, I don't believe there is a Cougar Ass Town now that I think about it.
Cougar Ass Town.
Yes.
It's not Cougar Vagina Town.
No, it would be
Ooh-ah.
Cougar Ass Town.
Ooh, that's inappropriate. That is too. Not inappropriate, just ooh.
Well, what is this then?
Grace, fuck me and make me forget we got a stupid kid. Coming Dawn.
I always love the coming Dawn. I'm coming.
That's the best part.
Make you forget you have a stupid kid. All right, let's get out of here before it becomes...
Who is that?
You don't know who that is? That's your boyfriend. That's your boyfriend.
Oh, that's Keith.
No, it's Walter.
That's Walter?
Yeah. That's Walter.
Walter Flanagan.
Yes. So what are you going to do?
Oh, yeah.
All right, as usual. Whenever I get crazy with the sound effects, it means the show is over.
Oh my God, we're still doing the show.
Don't make me destroy you.
Damn, I'm in trouble.
Especially with all the Star Wars shit going on in this episode.
As you wish.
You don't scare me.
As you wish. I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Did you say that I didn't scare you?
You don't scare me.
Oh.
Oh.
I thought you made a mistake or something.
No, I said you don't scare me.
You didn't make a mistake?
Yes, I did make a mistake.
Not as serious as yours. I fear.
I don't know. That took way too much setup and it didn't even come on. I didn't land it right. God damn it.
Oh, Bane.
Theatricality and deception. Powerful agents to the uninitiated. But we are initiated. Aren't we, Bruce? Members of the League of Shadows.
You could like hear the dudes in the background like working. Hey, we're putting the sewer down over here. We're putting the poison in. What's going on here? Hey, can you and your Bane and your Batman fellow go downstairs and get out of the way? We're trying to build something here.
We're building a prop for the movie.
Yeah. We got to build a cage for the cage match.
Oh,
you and your blonde kid. No, I'm sorry. No, I'm doing something. I'm doing another bit now.
No one's going to get it.
Of course.
Oh, Bane.
Yes.
Of course.
I have to have him back in the studio soon.
Yeah.
For his first visit of 2018.
Yeah, I'm sure he's got a lot to say.
I'm sure he does. He always does. He's Bane.
Wonder what he's been doing on this whole break. Scary.
Show me what you got. That's a lovely, lovely voice. T-Bane. That's a lovely, lovely voice. Kicking it old school.
That's what I believe he's doing.
Yeah, that gong always gets me.
He's kicking it old school.
Kicking it old school.
All right, folks. We're so glad you could join us in this first episode of 2018.
Mm-hmm.
We're winding down the season. I'm hoping we're going to get 37 shows in before February. We got 31. I don't know if it's going to work out numerically. We might have to stuff 2 shows into 1 week or something. But
we might.
We'd like to get 37 shows in the season.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It'll be the second time. First time we didn't intend to. Just made sense. This time we're trying to intend to. Because February is our yearly anniversary for those asking. Why February? Yes, February 17th or 18th is our
we still have time.
It's our new year. So it's cutting it close.
Cutting it
We don't have
close.
that much close. I don't think we're going to make it, folks. We have to put 7 shows out in a week.
Well.
Or GERP.
GERP.
We'll see what we can do.
Okay.
Latest, folks. We might just call whatever number it is 37.
Yeah, why not?
35, it's 37.
Why not?
Yes,
it's our show, damn it.
And the rest will be lost episodes. All right, folks. We'll see you next time. Apparently, you're listening to this. You're smart and good. Go read a book.
Good, guys.
Go read Fear and Fury or whatever it is. Or Fury and Fire and Fury.
Fire and Fury.
Amazing
it's
book.
called,
Just
yeah.
finished it. Oh, boy. And I'll leave it there. We'll talk about it on another show at another time.
Craziness.
But I was right. That's all I can say.
God.
I was right. And if you listen to me, you're smart and good, and you're probably right, too.
Yes. Smart and good.
We will leave you with that.
Bye, guys.
Oops, that's the SMeadlines outro. Wrong thing. I can't read the little taggies here. Thank you.
It's ThatMan.
Looking for an angel smiling, praying for some faith. Thoughts are drifting through my mind and filling it with fear. Is there something else out there, and just why are we here? Then I see the world will turn and we must be its guide. Colors from our mother earth will blow us to our knees. While our souls combined as one, come join us if you please, if you please. Reading moments one by one and smirking like a thief. Sleeping through another night and deepening our peace. Genesis and Match's wake is coming from our sun. Living in this very moment, for this moment's done. I see the dawn will come and we are all its guide. Crazy dreams and nonsense schemes, the Godhead in the skies. Powers from our mother earth is all we'll ever be. All our souls combined as one, come join us if you please, if you please.
Grace. Fuck me and make me forget we got a stupid kid. Coming, Don.
Join another person's eyes, we worship at our shrine. Bursting flowers into bloom, there's no such thing as time. Powers from our mother earth will blow us to our knees. Twisting, turning minds are burning, join us if you please. And now I see that I am just beginning its demise. Flashing bits of comic light that vanish from the skies. Powers from our mother earth is all we'll ever be. All our souls combined as one, come join us if you please, if you please. If you please. If you please.
There he is. It's that man standing over Blood Alley Square, protecting us all.
Go get him, that man.